Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and today I'm going to be doing my ranking of the Final Girl Series 2 Killers. I did this for Series 1, so if you haven't seen that, you can definitely go check it out, where I rank the 5 killers, and there's only obviously 5 of them, from my least favorite to my most favorite, and that in hopes will give you an idea of if you don't want to get like the big box of it, if you just have the core game but you want some stuff, then maybe you'll be like, oh, that one sounds super cool, I'll go pick that one up. So let me go ahead and preface this by saying that Series 2, I think, knocked it out of the park way more, well, maybe not way more, but more than Series 1 did, because in this, there's actually not really a killer that I don't like. In the feature film box, between the 5 that you get, I think all of them are great. But I have to rank them somehow, and I can't be like, oh, they're all fantastic, get them all. And I'm only going to be talking about the killers in this one. Obviously, that might bleed into mentioning locations, but I'm going to try and keep that very minimal, because I'm going to have a separate video ranking the locations of this, because this game allows you to mix and match really in any combination you want. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with my number 5, which is the Ratchet Lady. So like I said, none of these I think are actually bad, but whenever I'm comparing all 5 of them, gotta take some things into consideration. So Ratchet Lady introduces, this is the minion one. I'm gonna have the rule out here just cuz. But in Series 1, Geppetto had minions. In this one, the Ratchet Lady has minions that are called Maniacs. And the Maniacs are kind of, they're not as tethered to the Ratchet Lady like the puppets were for Geppetto. They can go really wherever they want, but they're incredibly slow. And all they do is they kind of just schoolyard bully you to where if they do surround you, you take a flat damage for however many are in your space after 1. So if there are 5 in your space and you move out, then you have you take 4 damage, which would kill just outright any final girl. So they're basically meant to just kind of hinder you, while the Ratchet Lady can run around and increase bloodlust and gain a bunch of health, because the gimmick of her is that she has no max health. Typically, whenever the killer gains health, if they can't go above their starting value, the Ratchet Lady doesn't have that. She has dark powers and stuff that's like, hey, anytime she gains health, she gains more. And that can, of course, quickly become overwhelming whenever she just has an exponential amount of health and you are dealing with the Maniacs. But Maniacs do spawn for her, but she turns a lot of the victims into them. So if you don't if you don't save the victims, then they can turn into Maniacs. But if you do save the victims, it's not that big of a deal, because then she can't turn anyone into anything. So I feel like her whole system is good in theory, but it doesn't really work all the time. Like, she's the one that's more dynamic, of just kind of RNG, where it's like, oh, okay, well, the tarot cards are really going her way, or the event cards are going her way, more so than some of the other ones in this series. Still, the theming of her is great. The story, the backstory, lore behind her is creepy. I mean, she's kind of the inspiration from the nurse in Silent Hill, which is barely like in the movie anyway, but can still be incredibly creepy. The Maniacs, you still have to keep them into consideration. You can't just outright ignore them, otherwise they will just gang up on you and you're like, oh, I have no attack cards in my hand, I gotta move, but I can't move, so you're just gonna burn a turn if you don't want to take that flat damage. So it's still alright as the Ratchet Lady, but it's not as amazing. So that is my number 5, Ratchet Lady. My number 4, this one, the Ratchet Lady was the one that was kind of like the biggest difference from like 5 to 4. The rest were all still really, really close, except for like number 1. Like I knew what my number 1 was immediately. My number 4 is the Big Bad Wolf. This one actually surprised me quite a bit because of just how, I don't know why I was about to change, because of just how cool I am. Because out of all the series, out of all 10 of them, they're all kind of either a self-written or self-created killer, or they're based off something. And the Big Bad Wolf is based off something, but I meant like based off other serial killers or killer slasher IPs. And whenever they announced this one, I was like, really? Red Riding Hood? Like, okay. But honestly, like, he worked really, really well. Dang it. Hold on. Gotta slide this back in here. I forgot I took it out. So the Big Bad Wolf is actually one of the few killers, the only killer in this series, that hyperfixates on terror and really bumping the terror track up. And if you bump the terror track up, that's not good for you because that limits the amount of dice you roll, which obviously limits your successes, meaning that if you're only ever rolling one die, you can't get the best result out of all your cards, which hinders you quite a bit. And that's just extremely atmospheric. One, if you're just always surrounded by this presence of this monstrous wolf hunting you down. And the fact that if terror's going up and it's on the max, then bloodlust is going up, which makes sense for bloodlusted being for a beast type creature. Also the fact that he has 2 modes, the prowling and then the slay mode, where it's like, okay, now he's like hunting a lot of victims down to like really kill or increase terror a lot, and then once he gets his dark power, then it's like, okay, well now he's ready to start really killing people. I was just extremely surprised at how he worked. Now, to be fair, I've only focused on the feature film, so I'm not quite sure how well he would do in other locations. I mean, that's part of the wonderful thing about this game, is playing around, being like, how would he fare in the neighborhood from, Dr. Fright? How would he fare in the Wolf Asylum? Because he can get around the board super quickly, and that makes sense for the location that he's at. But would he be as menacing in a space with a lot of locations? That's just something to experiment with. But I think he was surprisingly good. I think that this is a success overall, that they could do more grim storytelling thing, because there's a lot of really dark ones out there. I think this is something good that they could do. I wouldn't be upset if they announced like another in Series 3 or Series 4, if they announced another storybook kind of creature like this. So that was my number 4, the Big Bad Wolf. Number 3 is, boom, The Intruders, based off The Strangers, the movie that came out in like 2002, where it's kind of representative of the 3 invaders that like invaded that home. Hold on, now I gotta look if if The Strangers came out in 2002. Strangers, 2008. I was kind of close. So what this one does is the intruders, there are 3 of them. One of which being the active killer, just for the sake of the card of what they're doing. But they all have their own health pool, and they all have their own, even like adrenaline final health dial. So theoretically, you could kill one, and they could come back, and that could happen for all 3 of them. However, I will say that for 3 individual active killers, they handled this very well. Like, it, to me, it wasn't overwhelming because they weren't always all doing something. They can, like, there are cards and stuff that can allow all three of them to activate and do stuff. However, it's not happening all the time. It's not like they're always doing something. I thought they all synergized extremely well. They were extremely thematic. Their lore was kind of traumatizing if you actually, because it gives you a backstory on all three of them, which if you read and you know anything about kind of old serial killers, you're like, well, that all sounds familiar. And just the idea of like home invasion, kind of like in The Strangers, they encapsulate that extremely well. I also like the fact that how the active killer changes is very clean. Like, there's just an icon of like where the token is moving up, or if you kill one, then it goes to the highest active one. If you attack one, they become the active killer. So it's like, okay, do I want to rush in there and try and kill them, or do I wait and see what they do? Like, it gives you a lot, because there are three enemies, like, they can, at any given point, just kind of all, group up on you, and you're like, oh, you're all attacking me. That's cool. I'm dead. This one just really hit the nail on the head, and for a system like this to just kind of have three active killers that it just works is incredibly impressive. So that's why this one's like, I guess, in the middle for the other three, because I mean, just the other two are they're just better. Like this one would do extremely well like in series 1. Like if this one was in series 1, it probably would have been my favorite, but it's not. It's in series 2, and I would just love to take the Intruders and put them in a lot of the other locations, because they fit very well in any of those. So that's my number 3, the Intruders. My number 2 and my number 1, I knew what my number 1 was, but it did kind of, at least it made me think of, should I put the Intruders on my number 2, or should I put this one on my number 2? And overall, it kind of came down to theme, and I much prefer this theme over the Strangers theme, and that is the Evomorph. Well, since there's only 5, you know where my number 1 is. But the Evomorph, this is basically Alien. Like they hit the nail on the head for Alien, and this one is so cool because they have basically what's called evolution in this. It's called the Evomorph because they couldn't call it Xenomorph. If you're a fan of the Alien franchise, and really by that I mean Alien and Aliens 1 and 2 because those are the best, then this is the one for you. Like 100%. Not only in terms of the location, which will be talked about in my ranking list, but the fact that even the picture, which you can kind of see, is clearly meant to be the Xenomorph. And they also, not only do they have like different abilities based off what evolution he's on, because it could be a hatchling, youngling, and an adult. And whenever they're doing their attacks or their actions, you flip them. You have a separate deck of cards, and you flip that, and depending on what mode or stage of his life cycle he's in, they're going to do certain things. They also have implemented what's called ambush, or vanishing and ambush stuff. So like whenever you're maneuvering around the location, the Xenomorph can actually like hide and crawl through the vents, and you have to go out and try and scan and look for him. And then like if you don't do that, because there's a specific deck of cards, it's called scanning, to even try and find them, it can bust out of the vents and ambush you, and that's horrifying. Like, I think Alien and Aliens are one of the best horror movies out there, just because this one, unlike the 3 I mentioned before, Ratchet, the Ratchet Lady, Big Bad Wolf, and the Intruders, those could be taken almost independent of their locations. However, this one feels almost like the location and the killer go hand in hand, just because it's so iconic to the movie that it's in. Like, you know, or hell, if you've played another board game called Nemesis, has the same kind of system of the air ducts and the vents of the intruders running in and crawling through and you have no idea where it's at, and it could bust out at any time and just ambush you. I also love the fact that if it's a hatchling, you have a way to just outright try and kill it, but it accelerates very quick. Like, it does not stay in hatchling mode for too long, does not stay in youngling mode for too long. Once it's an adult, it's incredibly brutal. This one, I thought, just really captured the alien feel as well. So the xenomorph is basically that, or sorry, the evomorph. They just really hit that nail on the head for the different versions, and kind of that where the hell is it vibe. The fact that it could leave and you have to go out and try and get it is just so great. Like, it's I got no complaints. I got no complaints really on this one at all. And if it wasn't for the way the number one went, this one was very, very close to being number one. This one, the Intruders, and my number one are all fantastic. So that is my number two, the Evomorph. And obviously, since there are only 5 of these, it's pretty obvious what my number one is. Which, unless you don't know what any of these are, if you're just kind of blind going in, then here you go. My number one, the Organism. This one is easily the most complex out of the 5, although I will say Final Girl does a fantastic job of not making it overwhelming or just kind of like, what? You know? Here's the thing. Between Alien and The Thing, I like Alien way more in terms of movies. I've actually never seen the original Thing. I've only seen the shitty remake. Whereas I've seen all the Alien movies and love the first 2. But the way... but the concept of The Thing I find way more terrifying, just because of the sheer isolation and the fact that you have no idea who is the Thing. Because in this one, they actually have like a victim board where you actually have to go out and blood test the victims. Like, a lot of these, the victims are just kind of there. You go, you grab them, you save them. The Final Girl doesn't have that. They have a helicopter, but again, that's tied to the location to where you can get them out, but you're pretty much stuck in the spot. So whenever you're going around, you have to take them to like a lab, and you have to actually blood test them to find out if they're one of the 3 organisms before you can actually start killing them. That just really it flips the whole game in on its head, because it's not, like I said, it's not just a matter of, okay, let's kind of keep the victims off, or if they die, it's not that big of a deal. No, like they'll move around and they'll hide and they'll panic, and then you have to go out and corral them. You have to get test kits to bring them in to test them, and then and be like, okay, cool, you're in the clear. Like, you'll always be in the clear, which is nice. Like, it's not like they can all of a sudden change on who they are, or if they're, oh, hey, now you're exposed, I couldn't keep track of that. No, it's like, boom, you're good, because there's a certain number, there's like test result cards. It's like, nope, they're clear, so now they're done. And then like, it just kind of like really amplifies the theme whenever you've checked a lot of people and you're like, I haven't checked that person, and you know what the result is, so you have to go and get them. And then there are the 3, what were they called? They were called, I think they had 3 different types of organisms. Oh, I guess they didn't have names. They did have 3 different types of what they were, but like, yeah, it was kind of like a massive, like a big guy, and then like almost like a dog-like creature, then a humanoid type creature, then definitely like a big whatever the fuck organism. But they all had different types of health, so whenever you were scanning, like there was a high probability, like you didn't know if it was going to be 1, 2, or 3 infected people, and that, like, maybe some people might find that annoying, where it's like, I just want the one guy, the one killer, but I really liked that you didn't know how many were going to be affected or infected. So whenever you're scanning people, you're like, please don't be infected. Oh my god, you are. But yes, I have to scan more people. And oh my god, you're also affected. So I have 2 of these creatures I have to deal with. Please don't be a third one. Like, and then there is, and now you have 3 creatures. So then it kind of ties into the way the Intruders was, where now there's 3 organisms running around, and you're stuck in a frozen wasteland, dealing with the cold and all that. But again, that's location stuff. My 2 favorites between the organism and the evomorph very much kind of work so well with their location that maybe that's why they're higher, because I could take the big bad wolf and pull him and put him into, I don't know, pull him into the carnival and it would fit, or Camp Happy Trails. Not that it wouldn't be fun to put the evomorph in Creech Manor, but it would feel kind of off where it works so well for the USS Conrad. And the same thing works here, so maybe that's why I like these so much, because it's a full package. But still, that's the beauty of Final Girl, is you can take the organism and be like, wow, what would it feel like if the organism was in a summer camp? You know, you're just kind of out in the woods, no cell phone reception, just things like that. And then the camp, you know, people start getting infected. That allows for a lot of really cool combinations, but the scanning and the unsure nature of who's actually infected just really, like, that one stuck out to me, even though I like Alien more as a theme. This one is just so good. So that is that's my number 1, the organism, and my favorite killer from series 2. But again, from Ratchet Lady all the way to this one, I think they're all relative bangers. Like I said, Ratchet Lady is at number 5 because she's the most either going to be super easy or going to be super hard. The rest feel a bit more balanced, I guess, for a lack of a better word. But you really can't go wrong with series 2, I think, at least in terms of the killers. So, yeah, those are my top 5, or my 5 rankings. Let me know which ones were your favorite from series 2 in the comments below. Stick around for the the location rankings, and like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.